Mind Gap Podcast.
Hey everybody, welcome to Mind Gap Podcast. I'm Doug.
I'm Justin, and to kick things off,
Stuff is stupid, stuff is dumb. Doug hates stuff.
Doug, what's your immediate ick?
To be spoiled for choice of things. I'll go something simple. It happened today. Jill and I found we tried out a new dog park over the weekend. It's a bigger dog park.
Okay.
It's glorious. The dogs love it. We love it. We went there today, and as most dog parks, you enter a holding area to let your dog, off leash before you let them into the
airlock.
greater, the airlock, if you will, the decontamination center.
Right.
And this place is like, cool. If you go to the left, small dogs only.
Sure.
Go straight ahead. Basically anything goes,
Yep.
And we watched this lady take her two huskies and just head into the small dog area. And it says small dogs only, 25 pounds or less.
Yep.
And Jill just read that out loud, very loudly. As the lady let the dogs in, and then she kind of looked back at us, and we're just staring at her we're just reading the sign.
Yeah.
Just reading the sign, ma'am. Those huskies, pretty sure they're over 25 pounds. Not sure why you're putting them in there. Pretty obnoxious. There was no one else in there. So I'm like, if you just want space to yourself, I don't know, take them to your backyard. I don't know. Why bring them to the dog park? And if your response to that would be well, my dogs are fine. My dogs are cool. It's what if my dog's not?
Right.
What if my dog, what if my small dog hates big dogs?
Mm-hmm.
And I am specifically coming here so that they're not around big dogs because they don't get along with them or whatever.
Right.
It's what are you doing? Why are you doing that?
That's an example of a person who doesn't put their cart back in the
100%
in the grocery store parking lot.
100%.
They're all about themselves. This dog park exists solely for them to use.
Yes.
Does not.
To summarize, my ick is people who are inconsiderate of others. And honestly, at the most minimal level, from things like putting your cart away. I don't know, cleaning off your weights and putting them away.
Re-racking the weights,
gym.
yes.
Not taking your large dogs into the small dog area. Because what it turns into then, it turns into social policing. Mm-hmm. And in this day and age, that doesn't go well. Ever.
No.
Because either you say nothing and it just goes unabated, or you're all right, I guess I'm gonna have to say something, and then it just turns into a shit show, and someone records it, and then you go viral.
I was gonna say, and then someone ends up on the internet inevitably. Yeah. The other thing that happened.
Check out this Karen who's mad at me for bringing my dogs into the small dog area. Why don't they just mind their business? And then it turns into a whole thing.
The other thing that fucking happens is that it turns into a free for all. Because someone sees her doing it, and then they're like, oh, well, I saw someone else do this. So if there's no other dogs in that area, then it's probably okay. And so then the signs just go right out the fucking window, and we're living in a lawless dog park land. Because
then you look to someone for arbitration. You're like, is there a person of authority that could possibly arbitrate this? And the answer to that is no, there's not.
There is.
Yes, someone comes by occasionally to check to make sure that you have a permit for your dog. Otherwise you get fined. And at that point in time, you can be like, that lady over there, she brought her big dogs into the small dog area. And all of a sudden you're reduced to being a child telling on another student, to the teacher, being like, they pushed me. Right. Their book is on my side of the desk and they won't move it. And they're just staring at you like, what do you want me to do? It's well, if you don't do anything, I will take this into my own hands and I will put her in a headlock. I will do that.
Oh, yeah.
I will put
her and I'll put the dogs in the headlock too.
And I will take her down. I will do a two-legged shoot and I will take her down and I will pin her ass to the ground until she vows to never put her large dogs in the small dog area ever again. Yeah. And in my mind, I'll be a hero. Yeah. And I'll also be arrested for assault.
Conversely, I will say when people bring small dogs into the larger dog area, it bothers me for the sense that I have seen larger dogs, again, that just immediately go dominant on smaller dogs. And they're like, oh, my dog's, they're like, my little dog, it's fine, but he likes playing with the bigger dogs. I'm like, that is not what this is. It's not about your dog. It is 100% about keeping this a fair fight if something should break out, because these dogs will swallow your dog like a pill.
Because what I'll say to that is, at least you know what you're getting into, right? Like, it's fair game bringing a small dog into a larger dog area if you choose to do so, right? Because it's like
fair game for you, but not for the dog. You're putting that dog at a severe disadvantage. I feel like fuck you on behalf of the dog.
It's true. That is true. But it's the opposite is worse to me, when it's like, please don't occupy, this area with your large dogs. If I'm like, I want my small dog to be, because it's the same thing. I want my small dog to be safe, and you've now infiltrated my area, my designated area, because you're like, I want to be here with my big dogs. Right. I've seen people do that at both dog parks that I've been to. I'm like, what are you doing? I've seen giant dogs in the small dog area. I'm like, what are we doing here?
Like Danes.
What's the point? Let's just have one dog park then. What are you doing?
Right. Well, and I think that's the other thing is, no matter which side you go, small into large or large into small, the point is that you are coming to a place where there is an assumed social. Everyone has made an agreement. There are rules posted, and by using this, you are quietly agreeing to obey those rules. And then by doing that, you're just giving the middle finger, and you're just saying, none of these rules apply to me. And so again, you're turning it into a lawless land, which is just that slowly snowballs into pure chaos. And then someone ends up getting hurt. The dog park shuts down, and then where are you going to go?
Again, my original point: you're pushing it to be resolved on a peer-to-peer level, and that is dangerous.
Yeah,
it's very dangerous because people just don't have shame anymore. So, Justin, what's your ick?
Thing. My ick also revolves around dogs, and it is the deep, intense, guttural licking sound that these dogs do on themselves in the middle of the night, and it wakes you up. It's pitch black, and just out of the darkness you hear, accompanied with a, and I'm just like, and it goes on for 5 fucking minutes, and nothing pisses me off more. If I'm woken up from a dead sleep to that, I am in the red. I am in rage mode already. And it's just nothing. I'm like, what can I do to get back to bed the quickest? Because this is pissing me off. And then if I like move, and usually it's Benny who's the instigator of this. And if I move him, it's like 2 seconds. I just lay my head back down. Right back to it. And so rarely does he stay up. He usually stays down on the first floor. But when he comes up, it is a guarantee that every time, somewhere in the night, I'm going to get woken up by him just housing his balls. You're where they used to be.
Guess what? It's muzzle time, buddy. You come up here, stay in our bed. You're wearing the muzzle the whole fucking night, buddy.
God damn it. Yeah. Oh, it's just the
like,
worst.
Come here, bud.
I know Loki. You said Loki gets almost like sounds of enjoyment. You said it's just almost a little disturbing.
That, or it's like the noise you make while you're working out and you're grunting while you're doing crunches. She's just like, I'm like, good God, dog.
Right. You're working way too hard for this.
It's just like, ugh. It sounds like, yeah. Oh, I'm getting it. Yeah. Right there. Bad girl, or whatever. I don't know. Or good girl. I don't know. However you want.
Either way. Yeah. You're treating yourself,
Yeah.
That's an instant ick for me. That sound is one of my least favorite sounds in the world. I love dogs more than anything in the world, but that sound can go to hell.
Take that, Beth. There's certain sounds, loud mouth chewing, like for food, like Natalie will do that sometimes. And I will irrationally be like, I need you to stop. And she's like, I'm just trying to eat. And I'm just like,
sorry,
stop it. Stop it. I can't handle it. I just can't handle it. It sets me off to a whole thing where I'm like, ugh, you have to stop. I don't like it.
It's funny how those certain things, and like, I know there's a whole bunch more. That's the first one that popped to mind. But when they come up, man, it switches you off to that. You're just like, ugh. Not only are you disgusted, but you're irrationally angry for some reason. It's such a visceral response to these things.
Yeah. I don't like it. I
Very
don't like
gross.
it very much at all. It's
Listeners,
very gross.
viewers, what is your ick? What's your immediate ick? Let us know in the comments. Tell us, social media, wherever you're listening, wherever you are. Let us know. What don't you like immediately?
Yeah. We want to know. You can tell us at youtube.com/mindgappodcast. Hit the like button. Hit the subscribe button. Leave your comment there. Check out the link for links to our description. Let's try that again. Check the description for links to our Discord, our Patreon, and our merch at redbubble.com. Been having
You almost
fun
sent them
in the
down
Discord.
a rabbit hole. Check the
Almost.
description to find links to the description. And when you get there, you'll have to solve a cipher.
Inception. Description. Inception. Which is fantastic. That's what everyone wants to do. So, before we go forward, just gotta say, man, how you feeling? How you feeling about things? Are you all right? How you been since we last recorded?
It took me.
I almost thought we should just have Jill on as a guest tonight. To repeat from 2016.
I had a very similar thought. I was just like, is she? But then I was like, I don't want her to have to live with like that's her title.
Yeah,
she's the
it's
morning
after.
after.
It's wild to say, hey, 8 years ago you were on the podcast for a particular reason. You want to come back on? Kind of depressing.
Yeah, I genuinely for a second I was like, what is he asking about? I'm like, the gym. I feel good. I feel good about going to the gym. No, I'm. I don't know, man. It's funny because like I'm going through, like I've seen people talk, like posting about like, oh, what stage of grief are you in? And it's a very real thing, and I'm trying not to be boohoo poopy pants, someone that
for anyone who's wondering real quick, we're talking about the election. Trump won. So
sorry.
This is what we're referring to.
Anyone in the U.S. should know what we're talking about. Anyone outside the U.S. should know what we're talking about. But
yes,
this is going to have global repercussions. But no, like I'm trying not to be, the alarmist. I'm trying not to fall into what they fell in when he lost to Biden. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to hold a little bit more, even keel. Like, how are we going to address this? How are we going to move forward? But I'm definitely finding myself, dipping into just like still unable to believe what happened. I find myself going through like the quick fits of just like absolute rage over what happened and just at our country in general. I think more than anything, and people know we genuinely try not to get political on the show, but I'm just disappointed in our country right now. I'm wildly disappointed in everyone. It's just, I don't know. I don't really know what happened. And everyone's trying to do the postmortems on, the talking heads, and all the news outlets are saying, well, it was this and it was and they're all trying to point a finger as to what happened and why did it happen and where did we fail? To me, it doesn't matter. The point is we failed on our side to produce for whatever reason. And I'm very disappointed that the majority of the country, the popular vote, went to him. It's just
good.
It boggles my mind. I cannot wrap my head around it. What about you? Where are you at?
I was in really bad shape on Wednesday, and each day I've gotten better, especially as I've listened to analysis of smart people breaking this down, and I would push back and say that it's very important to know why this happened, not necessarily be like, because the thing is, there's not one reason why it happened. Like,
right.
It's a combination of things.
Yeah.
One of the things is that in this entire political environment throughout the world, incumbents have been getting their asses kicked across the world because of people have been unhappy because of post-COVID pandemic economic just awfulness. People are like, I'm so upset. Get these fucking people out of here. Everyone has seen it. So you're starting down from that.
Reactionary.
And it's just gone on. And from that moment on, it's like there's a whole slew of things that have caused it. And I find that I'm like, that's good to know because it's not like, oh, there's only one demographic that fucked us. It's like, no, it's not just one.
Right.
There was a seismic shift in a lot of these things. And so it's important for me, which has been helpful, is like hearing really smart people break this down and be like, here's what this is. And in a couple months, there's going to be even more like really super, because people are putting a lot of, they're focusing a lot on the exit polls, which are just not very accurate. Mm-hmm. So, which I would say anyone who is looking at exit polls, just gigantic grain of salt. That stuff is not fully formed, and in a couple months there'll be a very detailed report on the stuff where people will dive into the numbers and really get the nitty gritty of what happened. But I say all that because, there's also a lot of shitty people. It's hard not to be this person that's like, well, you got what you wanted. Mm-hmm. Hope you enjoy it.
Yeah, I definitely found myself dipping into that too.
The trend of the leopard ate my face sort of situation, like where that's happening. And, also some suggestions like, well, how do we combat some awful things that may be coming down, the pike? And to that, I would say this, and this is my small political opinion on the situation, but Donald Trump primarily got himself elected on the economy. So if anything Donald Trump does that doesn't pertain to the economy, we should hold him accountable for. And so, like, what does this have to do with the economy? What is this, if you're trying to deport shitloads of people, like, whoa. What's this have to do with the economy? If you're trying to, ban abortion, like, time out. What's this have to do with the economy? And just hold them accountable for that sort of stuff and let people know, because already I've heard this. I've seen this in reporting and stuff, some of it anecdotal, so giant grain of salt, but some people have already noticed that companies have canceled bonuses for things because they have to now purchase a year's worth of materials for production in advance to ward off against tariffs, which, in case you don't know, tariffs are paid for by the people who do the importing, aka American companies. If they're purchasing something from abroad, from China, the Americans will pay the cost of that. China does not pay the cost of that. The importer does. Tariffs can be used to try to dissuade people from buying stuff in different places. It can be like a defense mechanism to be used for that stuff. But the idea that we're going to just fund our economy via tariffs, the cost of that will be incurred by the people that import, and ultimately that gets passed on to the consumer, which is an inflationary thing, which means if you're concerned about inflation, this will make it worse. So I say all of that to say to the people that are like, yeah, the economy was better under Trump. Okay, hold on to that thought. If he does what he says he does, what he's going to do, I want you to keep track of that. In the short term, things may be okay, but in the long term, you may fucking hate what happens. And this is how I've been dealing with this, and just sort of like, my thing is like, now I'm like, all right, I'm just sort of arming myself for what's to come. And I've contacted people in my neighborhood, in my town, to be like, we got to stick together. What we can change is our local stuff. Yeah. That's what we can do. And we've got to band together to make sure that we're safe and the people in our town are safe. And we have to make sure we watch this town very carefully to make sure no bullshit happens. That's what we can do. And so that's been sort of like my moving forward, is like, I'm going to be watching my community very closely to make sure that we're okay. And to make sure that Natalie is okay, to make sure that Jill is okay, and to make sure that everyone else who may be vulnerable is okay. So that is my MO moving forward.
And I think that's a good way to look at it from, wherever you are. If you're unhappy with these results, I think that is probably the best way to look at it. You can the research will come out and people will give their opinions on why it happened, what happened, da 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 da. I think what I keep coming back to is, it doesn't matter how mad about this I am. It happened. This is what it is. There's no changing it. No amount of me being mad or stomping my feet or pretending it's not.
What do
happening.
you mean? We're not going to go storm the Capitol, Justin, because we're mad about the result?
Amazing. Just well, we'll see what happens. We're not there. We're not at January 6th yet, but we'll see. We'll have the reckoning. But it happened. And I think, moving forward, to your point, I think that's what anyone who's unhappy with it, we have to come to terms with the fact that it is the truth. It happened. And the only thing that we can do to affect change in the short term is focus local. And I think, whatever your people who, it drives me nuts, people who say like, well, my vote doesn't count. I live in, wherever. I live in Illinois, so I know it's going to go blue. My vote doesn't count. Like I live in a swing state now. Michigan was heavily contested. I live in one of the blue dot areas. So, our county did its job, but it was not enough to take to push the tide into the blue for the whole state. But, so I feel like my vote definitely matters, but there are people in states like California or, Texas, and they're like, we know which way the wind's going to blow. My vote doesn't matter. And to that, I would say bullshit. It might be predictable which way things are going to go for the presidential election, but there's a lot of stuff down ballot that you need to vote on. There's a lot of stuff locally that your vote absolutely matters on. And so getting out there, being active, not only on election day, but then after that, showing up to, when there's a city council meeting or when there's a school board meeting or when there's anything, showing up, being present, voicing your opinion. If they, like letting people know that you're there, letting your community know that there are a lot of you standing for this one thing can go a long way. And all those little pockets start to grow. And that's how change gets enacted at the next level up. And then that next level up starts to grow and the next level up. And it's a reverse domino effect. Yeah. And so you've got to get out there and you've got to involve yourself locally. Your point is wildly valid.
I want to make two more things, and then we're moving on from politics. Right. Number one, going to your point about your vote not mattering, there is a significant number of people who voted for just the presidential race and nothing else.
Yeah,
that's
sad.
Massive differences in the votes for president versus everything else on the ballot. So very interesting to me that people were like, I'm going to go vote for Trump, and they didn't vote for anything else, which in a lot of cases, if you liked or disliked maybe a Democratic candidate that was down ballot, they may or may not have won, or other things that are on there. I just find that fascinating. They're like, I'm just voting for president and nothing else.
Right.
Weird. Very weird. Second, I had it and I lost it. I'm going to see if it comes back to me real quick here. Yeah, I had it and it was gone.
Was it in regards to something else I had said, or?
I don't know. I've
Okay,
already lost it.
fair.
But
That's
hey,
fair.
there were discrepancies and that sort of stuff. Your vote matters. Take care of it. All right. Here it is. Here's
There
another
it is.
thing.
Perfect.
Here's the
We got
other thing. Here's the other thing. To quote Philip DeFranco, who's quoted other people, you may not fuck with politics, but politics will fuck with you. If you do not pay attention to what's going on, if you're like, politics is boring, it's crazy, whatever, it is your duty as a citizen to gather information and knowledge to be aware of what's going on. The sheer amount of undecided folks or people who are like, I don't know what this candidate stands for. I have no idea. I say this with all the love of my heart. Go fuck yourself. You have to find a way to plug into what's going on and know what's going on. The sheer amount of people that are like, I don't even know, man. I don't even know. I have no idea. Someone was like, hey, what'd you vote for in your area? They're like, I didn't even vote. I'm like, what do you mean? They're like, I just didn't know enough. And I felt like it would be irresponsible for me to vote. I'm like, why didn't you know enough? You can look up what's on your ballot. You can go and look that up and look for all those people and be like, gee, who should I vote for? And you can do that. You have something in your pocket that gives you information that you can use to look it up. Take control of your surroundings, of your community, and give yourself some time to know what's going on in government. End rant. Let's talk about...
Well, real quick, I'd like to say you're welcome for two, straight white guys in their 40s yelling at you about politics. I hope you've learned your lesson.
Yes. Now let's talk about funny porn websites being printed on the back of Barbie dolls. So Mattel released their Wicked dolls, with Wicked movie coming out November 22nd, I believe. Get ready. I'm going to be seeing this because Natalie wants to go see it. And I'm like, you know what? Even though I hate musicals, I'm going to do it. I
saw Wicked in the theater and it was fucking amazing. And I know you're not a huge musical guy, but I don't know. I think this is going to be good. It was a great play, and I think these are two fucking powerhouses to belt out these tunes. So I think it's gonna be good.
I'll watch it. I'll go and do it. I'm also going to see Gladiator 2. So,
Hey.
that one will probably be by myself, but that's fine.
What is it? Let's see. Glicked? How would you do Gladiator and Wicked?
Glicked.
Like a Barbenheimer.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
I don't know.
It just
Isn't
made me
this coming
think
out
of
at the same time? Are they trying to They were. Someone was saying they were trying to redo Wicked and what are being released on the same
I don't think
day.
you can intentionally recreate.
Oh no, you
Barbenheimer.
cannot at all. Yeah,
That's just not possible, and this is not even close to being the same thing. So
yeah. They were just saying some marketers were hoping that this was going. It was Gladiator and it was Wicked. So
they can hope all they want, but I don't think it's going to be the same.
The name that they gave to it was hysterical too, and I cannot find it now. But if I come across it, you'll be alerted.
So they released the Barbie dolls. They're like, here you go, check it out. They're here. They look wonderful. But on the back of the box, it invites people to check out wicked.com, which you think, oh, cool. That's the Wicked movie. Let me go into incognito. Wicked.com this is an adult, this is a porn site.
Oh yeah, very much so.
And it is hilarious that this is where it's printed on the back of all these boxes. It should be wickedmovie.com, which would take you to the actual movie site.
Forgot
so on
that
all
one
of these boxes,
operative word.
all of these boxes is a link to an adult, which I gotta, if anything, I would love to be in charge of like the web stats for this to see like how many people were like, oh, cool. Well, first of all, how many people look in the back of the box and be like, oh yeah, we should go to, this website in the back? Probably not many. I'd say it's probably infinitesimal, but now I bet it's spiked because it's been in the news. They're like, oh,
well, yeah, now that it's gotten picked up by an outlet. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. That's why they said the guy who designs a website goes, this is why we always have an up-to-date and solid front page, because you never know when we're going to hit. And when we hit, we got to be ready. He's like, we got to have the best shots up there.
What really would make it is if the people who run the porn site is if they, because somewhere out there, without a doubt, somewhere out there, there is, and they probably have it under their banner, a Wizard of Oz themed porn. And if they put that on page 1, that would be capitalizing to the nth degree.
They go, hey, let's get some people together right now. Let's film this. Let's put a thumb together and let's go. I'm
just saying, right? Like, it doesn't take that long to shoot those things. Like, let's really like throw it together this week and get it up by Monday. Come on.
So that got me thinking. First of all, it's a shitty mistake. And to assume that, like, I'm looking at that, I was like, that's totally a mistake I would make. If you're looking at the copy, like, what's the box look like? I'd be like, yeah, that's fine. That's totally something.
Sure, wicked.com. And if you're not really steeped in the world of porn, then I like you're not going to see that and go.
Well, not only that, you just see Wicked. You're like, oh yeah, that's what it is.
That's what I'm saying. Like it's like whitehouse.com used to be. Like you're like, unless you're in the know, you're like, nah, that looks fine. It's just you glaze over it.
Yeah. So it got me thinking, I'm like, what other movies would it be hilarious if there was just some sort of like porn site that was like named after the movie? And like something as simple like Home Alone, right? homealone.com to learn more about the movie. And you go there and it's just like incest porn, it's just like,
God, it is, it's like this.
It's just like,
what are you doing, Step?
What are you doing, Step Bro?
Just none. And you're just like, wait a minute. This isn't the Home Alone movie. Oh, it's supposed to be homealonemovie.com,
That would be so tragic. It would be wild.
It'd be pretty fucking hilarious if someone's like, don't worry, guys. We got this. We've been squatting on this website forever.
Truthfully, Gladiator would be, let's do the other one that's coming out. It's just a bunch of really oiled up dudes in Roman gear going to town. Here's
the fun one. Up. But it's all about erections, just up,
It's just some guy with his donger and it's got balloons tied to it. And it's just,
He's just like, yep, we're going up, baby. You know, I mean, Shrek. I don't know what you got going there, but it'd just be funny. It's like Shrek, you know, Shrek.com. It's like, oh, it's just a bunch of ogre porn, you know, like if imaginary friend. Oh my God. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? Sure. Who's your imaginary friend that you want to fuck? You know,
it's reaching back into the 80s movies. There was that movie Mannequin.
Yeah. It's everything. It's
which
basically
is just
like
sex doll. Yeah.
Yeah. It's sex doll stuff. It's
Rhinestone Cowboy.
It's hentai. It's like, you know, furry. It's just like, what's your deepest, darkest secret? If.com. You're like, oh boy. You're like, I want to check out this cool movie. Oh my God. Mickey Mouse, what are you doing? You know?
Oh God. Yeah, it's all Rule 34. That's just if.
100%.
It's a Rule 34 website. How about Snatch?
Fantastic Mr. Fox. You know, that's just a very furry-based one.
That's a furry-based one for sure, yeah. What about Snatch?
Snatch, great family movie, you know.
Yeah.
How about Garfield? I mean, that'd just be funny. Find a way to hijack that one. Just a bunch of lasagna and people who hate Mondays, you know.
That's food porn. That's the people who like smearing stuff all over themselves
and stuff like that.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Mukbangs, did you just say?
Yeah, mukbang. You familiar with mukbang?
I guess I am now. I can no longer say I've never heard that term.
Yeah, you can't. So it's basically people who it's kind of half ASMR, but it's mostly like people just eating a lot of food in one sitting.
And that's it? Like there's nothing sexual about it? Like there's just eating?
No.
Don't type it in. Don't do this.
Let's see here.
Tell me your eating. Incognito.
Okay, so the word is a combination of the Korean words, I can't say that, which means eating, and bang song, which means broadcast or show. So it's basically just like it's basically a live stream video where viewers watch the host eat.
So it seems like it combines both of our immediate icks. Like people chewing with their mouth. Because if the goal is to make as much sound as you can while you're doing this, that sounds like my worst nightmare.
Yeah, it's basically an online audio-visual broadcast in which a host consumes various quantities of food while interacting with the audience. Because that's what I want. I want you to eat and then talk with your mouth full. You know?
I don't like it. Yeah. I'm not going to lie. I don't like it.
How about Space Jam? You know?
Oh,
the name of itself just seems very aggressive. Yep. You know?
That's just people having sex with jars of jam.
Again, more food-based.
More food-based, yep.
It's a very open area, not any furniture, just like, a lot of space and just like a whole bunch of jam. You know what I mean?
How about the movie There Will Be Blood?
Ooh, yeah, that one's perfect. That's perfect. Yep. I don't think we need to talk anymore about that.
That sounds like a German site.
Yeah, right. How about Wonka?
And the Chocolate Factory? I think we know how to solve that one.
We just simplified it to thechocolatefactory.com. You know what you're getting into.
All right, let's go see the website for the new Wonka movie. Wonka.com. Oh, God, what is
my
this?
God.
Oh, no.
Oh, my God. Here we go. Here we go, Justin. You ready? Inside Out.
Oh, God. Oh, no.
A lot of cameras going in people, Just,
yep.
That's more of an educational one.
Sure. Look, I'm glad that, yes, where your mind went was much better. Yeah.
Oh, this is so much fun. Just looking at all these different titles, Some of them just don't make sense.
What else?
I don't know. Kung Fu Panda.
I mean, that sounds like a very niche site.
But isn't that what we're here for? The niche part? People don't want general stuff. They want very specific things,
Yeah, you get general stuff
here
anywhere.
We go. The Wild Robot. That's all about toys.
There you go. Exactly. It's the world of AI, and AI meets porn.
Its sister site, the Iron Giant, which is like how big of a thing can you play with? You know what I mean?
The Iron Giant sounds like the most painful toy that you could possibly play with.
100%.
I do not like that.
Awful. The Karate Kid? I don't know. That's just funny. Here we go. Hook.
Perfect. Perfect.
Yeah. So anyway, kudos to the people that put the website on there. I'm sure wicked.com thanks you for the free promotion. Okay. And I'd be curious to see if they get any bumps up to their subscriptions since with this little mishap. It'd be really fun to see. So
I'm just curious, has Wicked.com seen a rise
web traffic.
in web traffic? Yeah. The last 2 days, searches for Wicked.com have surged to their highest levels since mid-2012, according to Google Trends analytic tools. That is fantastic. Hold on.
And listen, most of that's probably just be like
a 12-year surge to traffic to that porn site.
And here's the thing. Most of it's probably just pure morbid curiosity, but I bet you there's some conversion in those numbers. I bet you some people are like, why not? You know,
well,
I'd love to see if their subs have gone up. You know, subs change in wicked.com. You know, love to see that report. But let us know what kids movie would you love to see, or would you find hilarious if there was an accidental like link to a porn site with the same name? Let us know in those comments. We'd love to hear. While we're talking about porn
related,
let's talk about North Korea and how their troops being sent to Russia, which sucks, by the way, because they're fighting Ukraine, but they're now outside of North Korea, which is a notoriously just like oppressive country where they don't have access to like open internet or anything like that. In Russia, they do have access to internet. And according to some reports, North Korean troops that are being sent to Russia are quote unquote gorging on pornography. What a phrase. What a phrase.
Yeah. What talk about a rumspringer for them.
I mean, some might even say it's a mukbang of pornography, you know, for them.
I would not want to be in those barracks. That's all I'm saying.
Just dining on various,
it's your turn to clean the barracks. I don't want to.
Various quantities of pornography.
Also, I'd like to just take a moment to say, you know, speaking of pornography, let's talk about North Korea. Typically not a sentence that you would ever utter.
Yeah, right. Well, because it's interesting because if you think about it, like, yeah, imagine being oppressed for so long and then you go to a place and they're like, hey, here's this thing. It's the internet. They're like, I think I've heard of this. And the first thing they go to is porn. Like that's
in fairness, they were very curious about this movie that was coming out and they went to wicked.com and it was a snowball effect after that.
And from there, they're just like, oh my God. But honestly, it also doesn't surprise me because it's basically like kids being like, hey, you know, if you go over here and look behind this tree, you're going to find some boobies. And they're like, okay, what do? They go and look behind the tree, see if they can find some boobies, you know?
Yeah. These are people who have been, again, they've been tamped down, subjugated, like they're very, very restricted in every aspect of their life. And you drop them in a country and it's like, okay, all restrictions are lifted. What do you think's going to happen? That is absolutely going to be what's going to happen.
Yeah.
They're not going to know what to do. They get a little taste of it and they're like, oh, wait, this is everywhere on the internet and it's just like free? Okay.
And not only that. Yeah, like I remember growing up and being like, all right, we have to get creative, you know, with how we get to see, you know, boobies.
Very much so.
Going to the bookstore where they didn't have the magazines in plastic yet, and I would very not smoothly just be on the other side of it and just reach over, grab it, put it in another magazine, you know, and pretend that I'm looking at another magazine as I'm looking at a Hustler.
Well done. That's an A-list move right there.
Yeah. Again, I'm like, I got this. I know what I can do. Roll stealth, you know, to see. And then what I do? I was like, I can't risk putting it back, so I would just leave it.
You would just
tucked
close
in
it
that
up
other magazine and then just walk away.
And then some unsuspecting, like just someone picks up Better Homes and Gardens and they're like, oh, I wonder what recipes Martha Stewart has this week. And they open it up. Martha Stewart.
Oh, Lordy. Oh, boy. Boy. We got some smoked ribs here. I tell you what, we got some pulled pork. Let me tell you. Yeah, because that's how you think about it with a kid. And having a child, it's like their thought process, they don't think it all the way through.
Oh God.
And I realize this is the only time I'm going to have the upper hand. And I try not to like
when like as with this gap in age, you mean?
Yeah. Well, right now when Natalie when she does something and I'm telling her, I'm like, you know, that doesn't make sense, right? She goes, no. I'm like, all right, let me walk you through how this doesn't make sense.
Right.
And then you tell me what you think the truth is when we get to the end of this. All right. I want to walk you
kids can only
this.
get to so far in the logic train before it falls off. And you're like, let me lay the rest of the tracks for you so you can get to the end.
Yeah. I was like, because let me tell you why you fucked up, because this makes zero sense. And the part of it is like, I also don't want to reveal all my cards. So she goes, oh, well, if that's what he's doing to find out whether or not I do this, then I'm going to then find a way around that. I'll give you an example. Nally has these little flossers that she uses to floss her teeth.
Sure.
And for a long time, I noticed in the garbage can in the bathroom, there weren't any flossers.
Okay.
And I would just casually be like, hey, you floss your teeth? She's like, yep. I'm like, okay. And then I just kept looking. I'm like, there's no flossers. There's nothing in here. And then after like a week or so, I go, hey, I need you to be honest with me. Are you flossing? And then she's like, yeah. I'm like, are you sure? Because I'm looking in the bathroom garbage and I don't see any flossers. And then she just looks her head down. She goes, okay, I haven't been doing it. And I'm like, cool. I have to calm the rage demon inside of my chest now because you've been lying to me, you know?
Yeah.
But that's the thing. They're just like, I'm just not going to do it and say that I am.
Right.
He'll never know. And I'm like, no, I can tell. There's
It's
no
the
flossers
perfect
in
crime.
there. Yeah. It's just one of those things where,
It's the same thing when you were younger. We've
100%.
talked about this, a million times on the show. Is this when you was it the matches or was it the
just going on the side of my brick house and just lighting matches and just dropping the used matches into the rock pile that is my landscaping.
Right.
And just being like, ha ha!
Did it.
So much so that my mom was like, are you smoking? I gave the best reaction. I was like, what? I'm like, what?
Are you talking about?
No, I'm not. I'm like, why? She's like, because I found a whole stack of used matches on the side of the house. And I was like, I can see why you would think that now. But my innocent response is, I'm just curious about fire right now. And I just want to light matches. Like,
and there was a SpaghettiOs or a soup. What was the other thing?
Oh God, the soup. It was late at night and I was hungry and there was a giant can of tomato soup. And I was like, ooh, that sounds good. I'm going to make some soup right now. I opened it up and I smelled it. It smelled awful. I'm like, I don't want this soup, but I feel bad because I opened this up and this is my dad's and he'll get mad. So my brother goes, hey, just throw it over the banister. Just throw it over into the yard. That's what I do at my apartment, which by the way, great advice. Awesome. Right. I go, that makes sense. So I just go and dump this whole can of tomato soup into our yard and then go inside and just throw the can away. So I'm like, problem solved. So the next day my dad's like, why is there tomato soup in the yard? And I was just sitting there being like, oh boy, I did not think that one through because he thought we got drunk and threw up. Like my parents just assumed the worst of both of us at all times.
Yeah, yeah.
Because could you truly believe a teenager is just like, I just didn't want it, so I dumped it in the yard? Is that believable?
Fiction, right?
Is that believable? I don't think so either. But I was just like, I didn't want to eat it. And I didn't want you to be mad. So I thought I'd get rid of the evidence in the yard by the spot where you walk every day to get into your vehicle to go to work. And I didn't think maybe I should hose this down. I just dumped it in the yard.
Right.
And my dad gave his famous line, which is, what do you think this is? The prairie? Which in the middle of that broke all the tension.
Yeah.
And I was just like, that may be one of the dumbest things I've ever heard. Like, that doesn't make any sense, you know?
Maybe it's not my fault. Maybe you gave me these genes.
Yeah. He was a guy who's like, I'm going to have a profound, very dramatic moment. And he ruins it with the words that he chooses. I'm just like, that was a bad choice. That was dumb. That was really dumb. So anyway.
That makes me happy.
Yeah. So I don't know how we went down that road, but
does it matter?
Yeah. It was bad. Yes. It started with North Koreans, gorging on porn to me being like, oh yeah, of course they went there because I went there when I was a kid. I was like, how else are we going to find it? Spice TV through the wavy lines.
Oh, the wavy lines. That was it. If you were lucky, man, it would sync up for maybe like 3 seconds.
You're like, there it is. And then it was like, and they would go away, but you could like kind of guess what's going on. And you're like, okay.
Absolutely. Yeah.
You get glimpses of it.
I don't know how. Yeah, it was, dude, that was, there's absolutely no way I should have been caught way more than was,
Yeah. So now instead of having to do that complicated stuff, it's just like, oh, do you have an internet connection?
Right.
There you go.
Ta-da. Hey,
find
guess
whatever
what?
you'd
Here's
like.
Incognito mode. Ta-da.
Yeah. And why wouldn't you? I mean, it's just like, you've never seen it before. You've heard about it. you're a young
Oh,
man
yeah.
and you're just like, oh my God, you know,
Right.
so here's the thing. Do you think they're going to go back?
Well, and that was my question after reading this. I'm just like, you give them a taste of freedom like this, and I'm sorry, and freedom I'm using very, very loosely because they're in Russia, but freedom comparatively, I'm sorry, I don't know. I'm like, I'm either defecting or guess what? My dog tag showed up. I'm DOA, and I'm just running off the other way.
I tell you what, man, going back would be real hard.
Yeah.
In a lot of ways, in more ways than one, you know?
I would be very curious, genuinely curious, to see if like the brainwashing was instilled enough like to get them back, or if they get that taste of like, again, air quotes, freedom, and they're like, fuck this, I will never go back. Like,
listen,
is it enough to break the programming?
We've seen, if there's one thing that breaks men more than anything, it's a insatiable desire for sex. And we've seen men make so many bad decisions in the name of lust that if
Some
there's
very
any
public
power,
decisions.
if there's any power over them,
Yeah.
that is the government, it will be broken by porn.
Yeah, you know what? That's fair. I don't care how much you brainwash them. Yep.
I mean, the fact that during the pandemic, there were dudes that were caught jerking off during meetings. I mean,
Jeffrey Toobin. Yeah.
Need I say more?
Exactly.
Like,
Yeah, that was, man, I completely forgot about that aspect of the pandemic.
yeah. Where
Oh,
someone was
man.
like, oh, yeah, how many people got busted jerking off in meetings? Like,
Or just going to the bathrooms with their cameras on. They were bringing the laptops in. Man, what a weird fucking time.
or they're just like screen sharing and you see the tabs and they've got like porn tabs up on their computer. You're like, dude, what's that?
oh, no.
What are you looking at? Yeah. Fun stuff. So,
Oh, good times. Holy shit.
so let us know, what were some of the dumb things you did as a kid to see porn? Let us know in those comments.
Or just the dumb things you did as a kid, period.
Whatever
What was
you feel comfortable with. But we-
What was your logic that was, you look back now and you're like, why did I think that was going to work?
If your younger self gave you that excuse now as an adult,
Right.
how would you be like, wow, that was dumb? What would you do to improve? Like, how could you help them lie better? What would you do?
I've got
What would
notes.
you tell them?
Yeah.
Yeah. You got notes on how to do better.
Fucking
All right,
A.
Justin,
I'm
it's
ready.
game time.
I'm ready.
Hope
Let's
you got
fucking
your game
go.
face on. Hope you got your game face on. So we're heading back into it, baby. It's guess the movie from the audio, from the strange audio, the weird audio moments that Doug has stuck in his brain to see if you can also connect with those same films.
That is
It's a long title,
Streamline title.
Yeah, we're working on it. But yeah, these are some weird moments that are always stuck in my brain that I randomly think about, that the audio, if I hear it, I'll always be like, I know what that is. And we're going to see if Justin is as crazy as I am. Justin,
Right.
are you ready?
I am. Last 2 weeks, we tried to reverse this and me give it to Doug, and we're going to have the master step back into the driver's seat here and
Don't
show
call
me
me a
how
master.
it's done.
I'm not a master. I'm just
You are, Doug.
a weirdo.
You are the master of this game.
All right, here we go.
The legend. Okay.
Here we go. I would say 2 of these are dialogue, maybe 1.5. I don't know. Here we go. Here's the first one.
It's Ace Ventura. And that is double paned, soundproof glass. There is no way that neighbor heard Roger, or was it Roger Podacter?
Yeah.
Fall on the with that door closed. That's Ace Ventura, absolutely. When he's on the fucking the balcony at the crime scene after Podacter got thrown over the ledge.
Yep.
Mwah.
One of my favorite moments. I watched that
Absolutely.
movie as
That
a
is
kid,
classic.
and I rewound that scene like 5 times, and I laughed myself just out of breath because it was so funny to me as a kid.
Oh,
And
I used to have those, like that whole thing where he like ends and he's like, I have exorcised the demon in this house. He's clear. I would recite that to my aunts all the time and just have them in stitches. That was my favorite fucking movie.
Yeah, it's a great. It was a great movie for the time. Not so great if you rewatch it now. You're like, ugh, there's a lot of.
There's a few.
some-
yeah.
It's not. It doesn't aged well.
I'm just
some
thinking
of the
about
jokes.
the opening when he returns that little white dog.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm like, and again, me watching it then, I'm just like, I don't know what's happening. He's moving around real funny.
yeah.
like-
There's a lot of weird shit. It's,
Yeah.
There's a lot of people that are butt of the jokes that it's unfortunate. But anyway,
absolutely, yes.
moving right along. Justin, here's sound number 2.
Harry, are you all right in there? Just a minute. I hope you're not using the bathroom. That toilet's broken. Dun, dun, dun.
Zoom in
God.
like, oh,
Zoom
God.
in. Dude, you're playing in my wheelhouse right now. Fucking Dumb and Dumber. Jeff Daniels and Dumb and Dumber. Another movie that I watched to the point where I almost wore the VHS tape out. I love that movie. That I will say to this day, I still say Dumb and Dumber is one of the best comedies ever made. And I do think a wildly underrated, smartly written film. It's very smart.
There are so many throwaway jokes. Like if you're not paying attention, or if you just like, I remember my dad laughing at he's like, she wrote me a John Deere letter.
Yes.
My dad laughed his ass off. I didn't know what that meant, but it's a Dear John. And he's like, she wrote me a John Deere letter, And there's so many, like, obviously ad-lib. One of my favorite ones is, we landed on the moon. As like, he's leaving the bar. It's like, he's like, wow. He's just so surprised. Like, we landed on the moon. He's running away saying we landed on the moon. It's the best. You know? I still drop that line today when it's just like something obvious, and I'll just be like, ha, we landed on the moon. It's
the one I still use all the time is it's the button at the end of it, but it's when he's like slammy, Sammy, Swami, Sammy, Swami. He's like, well, maybe it's on the briefcase. Oh, yeah, Samsonite. Yeah. I was way off. I knew it started with an S,
those. Oh, those ones are just like, whoa, nice S. Yeah, he must work out.
He must work out. Like, it's burned into your memory. But yeah, I'll still use that. I was way off.
He's like, tell her I have a rapist wit. You're like, what the fuck? And they're so dumb. I love it too, because like people don't take them seriously because they're so earnest in their stupidity that you're like, how can you take them seriously? So just like, oh, they're adorable. And you're like, oh wait, you really are dumb.
Right. Big gulps, huh?
Yeah.
All right.
All right. He's like, what the fuck? Just Anyway. All right. Man. Great job. Here we go.
Thank you
Last
for those
one.
two. Those made my night.
Here we go.
Come out to the coast. We'll get together. Have a few laughs.
Fucking Die Hard, baby. That is unmistakably Die Hard.
That's right.
Absolutely. God, another movie that fucking I love. I had the box set of the 1, 2, and 3. God, it was so good.
Dude, well done. You nailed it. All 3. Bravo.
You landed right in my, like, there are some nights where you're just like, they're the ones that stick out in your head and they're very Doug centric. You played right in my wheelhouse. This was my sandbox tonight. Very happy with these. I'm very happy.
I was thinking, what are some fun ones I haven't pulled yet? I'm like, those will be it. And I'm glad you got them because they're classics, quite classics. So
I like it.
All right, Justin, what do you have to recommend this week?
I just watched Late to the Game, but I've been wanting to watch it for a while, but I watched Civil War, the A24 film. Man, fucking great movie. I really enjoyed it. Again, like a lot of people said, and I think you recommended it weeks and months ago when it first came out. I think you had said you were surprised, as most people were, that it wasn't. It was less about politics and more so about the actual, like, following these photojournalists and what do wartime journalism people go through to this extreme extent, even to the fact that Beth jumped in later in the film and she was like, so what caused the split? And I was like, honestly, they really don't even get into it. You just know that California and Texas are the Western Front. Florida is its own alliance and they're trying to recruit other people. And there's a string of states that are still the U.S. and that's it. You just know that people seceded. And the thing that I did think was brilliant is that they made California and Texas part of the West. They joined forces, part of the Western Front. So you can't even say, well, it was Republicans that seceded or it was liberals, they took the bluest and the reddest state and they went, both of you are together in this.
Yeah.
Absolutely a stroke of genius in that regard. So I thought it was fantastic. I really, really enjoyed it. I could nerd out and go into like the nuances of different shots and camera work, but it just top to bottom, I thought it was a really good film. It's on Max currently, so if you haven't seen it yet, fucking take the time, go check it out. Really, really, really good fucking film. And I will say, I'd forgotten how much I like Alex Garland as a filmmaker. Like Ex Machina, he's really good at what he does. So yeah, I would say go check it out. 28 Days Later, et cetera, et cetera. But yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed it. Doug, what do you got?
I'm sure this won't be a popular suggestion, but I really enjoyed the Rings of Power season 2. I've never read the Silmarillion or any of that sort of stuff. I don't know how accurate it is to the lore of Lord of the Rings. There may be some things where people are like, that's cringeworthy. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the first season. I've enjoyed the second season. I like it. I think it's cool.
You're looking to draw the ire of the internet again, aren't you?
I mean, we're not going to do a full episode called The Butthurt Boys Get Butthurt Over the Rings of Power.
We should.
Got a lot of comments on that one because they're like, elves are supposed to be white.
And thank you again for the engagement, everyone.
Yes, thank you for the engagement. I'm sure we picked up a lot of subscriptions on that one. But no, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed getting a look at Sauron and how he's manipulating people and getting them to forge the Rings of Power. It's cool. I think it's very interesting. You also get to see how those rings affect other people while they're in use and whatever. I don't know. I find it enjoyable. So
nice.
Check it out if you want to or not, whatever. I will say the downside is it's on Amazon Prime and you got to fucking deal with commercials, which I hate. I hate more than anything. So
the
second I can be like, cool, are we done? Cool, because I don't want to watch this anymore because I don't want to deal with your fucking commercials. So,
do they play them up front and give you the whole episode, or do they interrupt it midway through?
Both.
Really?
They play it up front and then they play them throughout.
It's not like if you watch these 2 minutes up front, you get to watch the whole thing ad free.
Nope.
That's a bummer.
They start out with some and then they sprinkle them in throughout, which is super interesting. I will say my one note on the show is that they have a lot of moving pieces and storylines. There's what's going on with, Elrond and Galadriel, and then beyond that, the elves, and then there's the dwarves, and then there's the stranger and the halflings, what's going on with them, and then there's what's going on with Sauron, what's going on with Numenor, what's going on with Isildur. There are so many things. If you zoom out and be like, what happened with the stranger? Not much. If you put all those scenes together, I'm like, that was a pretty minimal storyline. I mean, we kind of nudged it along, but okay. Some of the Numenor stuff, Isildur stuff, I'm like, I don't know. How far do we get with that? I don't know. They were just there was a lot to juggle.
Almost too much to juggle.
I think that'd be my one. My one thing is you guys are really just we're trying to cover a lot all at the same time. And you're like, Jesus Christ, man. All right. So anyway, I enjoyed it. Check it out or don't. I don't fucking care. But you can check us out online at Mind Gap Podcast. Yeah, that's right. On all our social medias. Go to youtube.com/Mind Gap Podcast. Hit the like button. Hit the subscribe button. Leave us a comment. What do you think about Lord of the Rings, Rings of Power Season 2? I would love to hear your thoughts. And then also be sure to check the link in the description for links to our Discord, links to our Patreon, links to our merch at Merch Bubble, redbubble.com. And be sure to check out Justin online as well.
On Instagram at Justin_Michael, spelled Mikel. It's the fun way of spelling it. And while you're in the online realm, anywhere where you find and listen to podcasts, just the audio version, you can find us there as well. Go ahead and subscribe, rate, review, share, all the things that we ask you guys to do all the time. But the sharing is the big one. Please let people know. Just take the link, send it to one person, and just say, hey, these guys are kind of funny. Or these guys were really annoying. Take a listen to them. I don't care. We'll take the download. I don't care which way it is. So just share us with someone and give them your honest opinion. 2east8th.com, 2east8th on all social media, loveanimprovfilm.com, Love an Improv Film on Instagram. And I would also recommend checking out, if you're interested in the movie that's coming out, check out wicked.com and, get prepped for Galinda the Good Witch and the, Wicked Elphaba, the Witch of the West.
The elf on the shelf.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wicked.com.
Wicked.com. You'll find all the good stuff you need there. With that, I will say, Justin, thank you.
Douglas, thank you.
Listeners, viewers, thank you. And you all have a dandy fucking week.
Mind Gap Podcast.